If you clicked on this video, it's probably because you want to improve at Smash, or actually in any video game with different goals in mind. Some people want to win their next tournament, some want to finally beat their greatest rival, and some just want to get to Elite Smash. Whatever it is, it's often not as easy to really figure out what you should do to improve in the way you want to. You might even end up grinding the game for hours on end, but end up frustrated because you don't get the results you want. So in this video, we will go over the psychological background of improvement, which can be applied to video games, but also other areas. We will then also talk about the specific steps you need to take to get better at the game and what you should focus on doing. Let's go! First of all, we gotta ask, what is improvement? Here, I first want to point out some common logical mistakes some people make when it comes to the topic. Number 1. If your results improved, that means your gameplay improved. While this can be true, it's also possible that other factors play a role. Maybe for the last month, your bracket demon just hasn't shown up to any tournaments. Maybe you just adapted to the playstyle of your local scene, and once you go to a different city, it all crashes down. Maybe you picked up a different character, which helps in producing results, but doesn't mean you actually improved at the game on a mental or mechanical level. If you consistently place better than before, then you can confidently say you improved at the game, but complacency is your worst enemy when it comes to steady progress, so be careful in your conclusions. Number 2. If your results plummet, it means you got worse at the game. Similar to the first point, there are many possible reasons for this. On short term, it might be because you didn't sleep enough, your hands were cold, you had other stressful things going on, the typical distracting stuff. Over longer periods, it might be that your opponent just improved faster than you did. You might have fixed one of your habits, which is definitely a form of improvement, but if your opponent fixed 2 of their habits, then your loss might seem like you became worse. This is especially prevalent when fighting someone better than you. As an example, I just recently had a long coaching session with a student who wanted to improve his disadvantage state. And indeed, at the end of the session he made more rational, thoughtful decisions instead of going for panic options. To him, however, it seemed like he was getting worse and worse, simply because I adapted to his playstyle, even if his decisions were in general less risky. Lastly, drastic improvement always comes through change. And during this process of change, things might seem worse than before. This is commonly known as improvement curve, where you will need to expect downs between the ups. Now that we know what kind of expectations we should have, it's time to go into detail on what we want to improve. And here we have 3 main areas: mechanical skill, theoretical skill, and mental game. All of these have sub-areas again, but we're gonna look at one at a time to figure out how to improve in them. Let's start with the simplest one, mechanical skill. Mechanical skill, also called mechanics, tech skill, controller skill, whatever, is your ability to execute what you want to do consistently. This includes combos, movement, but also character-specific tech, like Pikachu quick attack angles or rob item combos. I say this is the simplest area to improve, but not necessarily the easiest one. As a Lucina player, you'll have an easy time perfecting your movement. As a Peach, Steve or Casio player, not so much. So what should you do to improve? It might be obvious, but practice is everything. However, there's a bit more to it. Improving motor skills deserves a whole video on its own, but here are the basics for any kind of movement practice. Do it for short times only, but consistently, so rather 5 minutes every day instead of an hour once a week. Do it step by step instead of trying to do a whole combo at once and failing every time. Put the things you learned into practice right away and implement them into your gameplay before moving on to the next one. Otherwise, you might end up finally getting that situational frame-perfect platform conversion with Mii Brawler, but already forgot how to get down throw a thropper consistently again. If you follow these steps, your muscle memory will build in no time, no matter if it's Casio 0 to death combo or just learning how to recover with Ness and Lucas. By the way, you can also apply these things to learning any motor skill, like an instrument or martial arts. For theoretical skill, things get a bit more complicated. It includes understanding of the game in multiple aspects, including spotting habits in yourself and others, building a game plan, adapting, understanding abstract concepts like advantage or disadvantage, but also very simply knowing matchups. Before you can build a game plan against any character, you have to know what they want to do. Against Luigi, you have to know about his 0 to death combos to build your game plan around it, like platform camping at low percent. Against me brawler, you have to know when his downfall or kill confirms work on you in order to play around them. What's the fastest way to learn about these things? Research and experience. If you want to learn how to play against Falco, you could for example watch a guide on how to play Falco, to learn his general objectives in most situations. You could also ask on the character's smash chord, or ask a coach what your character specifically can do in the matchup. Once you know the basics, it all comes down to experience. Build a game plan in your head and try to use it against that character. Doesn't work? Change your plan, try again. It can also help to pick up the character yourself, learn the basics and see where you struggle. If you find that you struggle playing Ike against people who anti-air you a lot, then try doing that the next time you play against Ike. For game plans, adaptation, understanding of concepts and similar stuff, things become a bit more abstract, but there's still better ways to improve than just mindlessly playing the game. Your two main resources here will be watching top players of your character and analyzing your own gameplay. Let's say you want to improve your Joker. Take a look at some tournament VODs from MK Lear or Mars and think about what they are doing. How do they start their matches? What do they do at the low percent? How do they corner pressure opponents? How do they recover? How does their playstyle switch when having Arsene? If you can find them, it can be really useful to look at matches of top players of your character versus non-top players, to really see how they exploit other people's habits and weaknesses. Make a conscious effort in finding these things out, maybe even take notes and really put some thought into it. I promise it'll make all the difference. In the next step, you can try to apply these things to your own gameplay. Try to imitate top players and see what works for you and what doesn't. Then it's time to look at your own replays. Where did you struggle? What didn't work for you? If you can't find the answer to abstract questions, it can help to stay at the basic level first. Why did you get hit? Why did you lose a stock? Why did your opponent get out of disadvantage? If you compile the answers to all these questions, you can get to more broad concepts like I rushed into my opponent too often at high percent, which led to me being killed for bad spacing. Make a list of all these things you find and just like before, work on them one by one. Think about what you could do differently, apply it, evaluate if your solution worked and get to the next problem. Repeat that cycle often enough and improvement will show. If, however, you do struggle to find out what you should work on or how to solve a problem, don't be afraid to ask others for tips. You can do this after a tournament set, ask a friend, or again, if you want it done professionally, ask a coach. The final improvement area I want to go into is mental game. How do you approach a tournament set? Do you have a practice routine? Do you get tilted when playing against certain characters? Do you internalize mistakes, so blame yourself, or externalize them, blame the game or the character or whatever? This is the most difficult area to improve in as it's different for everyone. Your mindset for approaching the game is also connected to what kind of stuff you deal with outside your gaming life, so stress will have an influence as well. I already have a video on how to deal with tournament nerves, and I also plan to make more of those for dealing with tilt and frustration, so for now I can only say, stay calm, take a deep breath, be confident and have fun. This sounds a lot easier than it actually is, but it's the only thing I can generalize for now. What some of you might wonder now is, which areas should you focus on improving? Should you lab your tech skill to the max, or is fundamental knowledge enough to carry you? Is mental game irrelevant if you're good enough? In my opinion, this depends a lot on players' skill level. For newer players, it doesn't make sense to think about their opponent's habits if they don't have the technical skill to hit the punishing combo anyways. For mid-level players, improving their mental game to stay calm in a Game 5 Grand Final situation doesn't make that big of a difference if they don't have the theoretical skill to reach even quarterfinals. High-level players don't get anything out of labbing slingshots if they mess up under high pressure regardless. So, which area you need to improve the most always depends on where on your improvement journey you currently are. As final words, I want to talk about the relation of improvement and having fun. While a lot of top players will tell you that the most important thing is having fun at the game, the truth is, the mental effort needed to improve at anything is usually not fun for anyone. Using your brain, criticizing yourself, thinking about playing instead of just playing can honestly be a real pain. If you're a prodigy who can simply improve by playing, then yes, you might get through by relying on enjoyment. But for everyone else, this might not always be the case. Psychologically speaking, you do improve faster if you enjoy the process and are passionate about what you do. But what tons of top-level athletes, musicians and gamers will tell you is, practice isn't fun. Winning is. Please don't get me wrong, I don't want to encourage anyone to suffer through hundreds of hours of non-enjoyable grinding just to place a bit better at local tournaments. The most important thing will always be avoiding burnout, because once you cross that line, you might never want to touch the game again, not even just to enjoy playing. But wanting to improve without working for it can be just as unhealthy, as you might sink thousands of hours into the game without ever getting results out of it. As with most things in life, you need to find your own balance. How much passion do you have? How much discipline are you willing to build? And what are your goals? All of this determines your future in the game, and it's not an easy decision. Whatever you decide to do, I hope this video helps you reach your goals at least somewhat. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in a comment or join my Discord server and ask there. Link to that and also my coaching website are all down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next video.